Hello everybody and welcome to another stream. I have a topic today. I know everyone's going to be excited about that. So I will go on my normal topic and maybe we will have people join us later for questions. But as I always say, if you want to talk about the dream you had last night, come sit next to me because that's what we want to talk about. I heard this on the radio the other day and I thought it was pretty hysterical. Not really hysterical, almost kind of sad in a sense, but hysterical in a sense of how a human views it. So when we're in our human aspect, we view things completely differently than when we're in our higher aspects. We just have a different take on everything. So our take when we're in really operating from our human aspect, that level of consciousness is quite comical, there it is, than when we're operating from our higher aspects. So when people look at me and think I'm crazy, weird, I look at that and I'm like, oh, that's weird. But I heard this man talking about his dream. It was a sports show I listened to. And he was talking about a dream he had. And everyone on the sports show with him was talking about, oh, it's probably this, it's this, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And they were kind of minimizing the whole thing. And I think to an extent, the man who dreamed it was minimizing the whole thing too. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But he kept saying something I thought was really important and very open. And I love when people feel open enough to talk about their dreams because it's kind of like that taboo thing people don't want to talk about. They'll talk about sex. They'll talk about drugs. They'll talk about anything under the sun. But when they talk about their dreams, a lot of people get kind of strange about it and judgmental about it. Like before they even say it, they'll preference it with, oh, I had this weird dream. Oh, I had this really crazy dream. It didn't make any sense. Oh, it was stupid. You never hear anybody say, oh my God, I had this dream about this reality I'm creating and let me tell you about it. Unless you're talking to me, then that's how we're going to talk about our dreams. Because they're such a pivotal place to look at what you can create. Because we've already created everything. We've already done everything. That's why some things feel so easy after a while. It's like, because you already did it. It's easy. And we just have access. When you get to a certain space with your consciousness where you can see all these things you can do, you can see all these realities you've already done, then we're just trying to anchor them in. We're trying to bring them in here. That's what we want to do. So anyway, this guy goes on and on about his dream. But the one thing he kept saying that I felt was dismissive was I was upset about the dream. And that was kind of the key to the whole conversation when I was listening to it. The fact the man kept repeating it, I think he said at least 2 to 3 times, he was upset about it. Upset him. It was a violent dream. It was an upsetting dream. It kept him awake. It kept him up. He didn't know what to think about it. He kept thinking about it. He kept playing it over in his head, which signals to me where I kind of look at dreams probably from a different place. I always listen when someone has a dream, whether it's on the radio or just overhearing something. When someone says they have a dream, I always kind of listen to see what I get on it. What's my hit on that dream? Well, I'm spilling my drink. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, so what are you going to get on that? Like, what do I get on it? And just a couple of things that always stand out to me. We kind of have to earn our right to dismiss our dreams. That is not something you can do, or let me preference that. It's not something you should do when you first open up to dreaming. Even if you're not open to dreaming, you start dismissing them, you almost are closing a door to the most access you have. Let me put that another way. The clearest access you have to the different multi-dimensions you're living in the beginning. Your dream state's how it's going to come through. I don't know of anyone who just started with, all of a sudden I got all this information, that didn't start in the dream state first. There's a lot of reasons for it. Your brainwave states are different. You're more open. You're always going to be more expansive in your dream state because you're not hampered by the human body. in a sense. You're going to see more. You're going to be able to process more at one time in a kind of more conscious way, in a sense. It is not something you want to shut the door on. It's like if someone bought $1 million to your door, you're not going to shut the door on it and be like, oh, no, I don't want that. I'm sorry. No, I got something in the oven I can't talk to you right now. Or if someone bought you a magical 8-ball where you actually could see every possible future you could have. And you're going to think, no, I'm not interested in that. You keep that. I'm going to just go back and just wait and see if anything ever happens. You're not going to do it. Just like if you have a dream and it was a very upsetting dream where maybe you were upset in the dream or you saw something happen to someone in a dream, or it was maybe a violent dream. If you saw that same scene in your waking state, you're not going to walk right by it and be like, okay, whatever. You're going to at least stop and witness it. If it's funny, if it's odd, if it's affecting you in any way, if you're awake and you see those same scenes, you're going to stop and take notice. But when we're in our dream state, we just assume, oh, whatever, pish posh, doesn't matter. It always matters. Everything you see matters until you can start to compartmentalize it, in a sense, on what it means to you. But you don't know what it means to you until you start looking at it. And that's what I think the disconnect starts coming in for people. They assume it means nothing, and they dismiss it like it doesn't matter. Well, it all matters. You wouldn't have the dream if it didn't matter. You have a dream that triggers emotion, trust me, it matters. You might not know right now why it matters, but I guarantee you in some form it matters, or you wouldn't have it. A lot of times anything traumatic in our life, we will know it's coming first because we'll dream about it. Now, the reason people don't sometimes connect the dots that this could be, I don't want to say a warning dream because that sounds kind of ominous and scary. It's just almost a, hey, this is going to happen, and you want to start preparing yourself for it. Someone might be exiting your life. Someone might die. You might decide you're going to move to a different place and have to leave all your friends behind. Something's coming, and your human's gonna struggle with it. It's gonna have an attachment to the old. So the dream state can help you start detaching. That's why we see it first there. It's starting to help you process the emotions for it. Process so you can then just release the stuff. So you're kind of not surprised because you kind of saw it coming. Why a lot of people won't connect the dots is because sometimes the latency of these dreams can be a long time. You could dream something 3 years ago and then it starts happening and you just forgot you dreamed it 3 years ago. Because it's a long time. Unless you're really into your dreams and you become sort of I took some classes and read a lot of books from a gentleman called Robert Moss years ago. And he would say to be a dream archaeologist. And those were his words. And I thought they were the best words. I think it's kind of a phrase he coined. So I don't want to take credit for it because it's not mine. It's his. And it was just a good phrase because sometimes you have to dig a little bit. We have to. And I don't mean go to a dream dictionary and look at what someone else says it means. Just what popped out at you in the dream. What do you remember? How do you feel about it? Do I need to go deeper? You can always play lurk and listen. Exactly. I like that. You want to listen. You want to listen. And people don't want to listen. Because if it's not how the human wants it, the human thinks it doesn't make any sense. I don't think I've ever had anybody say to me before they tell me about a dream, I've never heard anybody say, oh, I really want your opinion on this, or I think this is important. It always starts with, this is stupid. It's dumb. It didn't make any sense. It's crazy. But I don't want to talk about it anymore. But they still want to talk about it, which is funny to me. I still have a little bit of curiosity. Since you're sitting right here, it seems a little convenient. Well, it's not convenient. You put me there. You wanted me to sit here. You called me here to sit here. To the human, it's coincidence. It's not coincidence. You needed someone to talk this dream out with, so you get a dream person that sits beside you in some random place. That's how life works. That's how your universe works. You want someone to help you, not even help, assist you in looking at it. So you call for someone to help you do that. Listen when you listen to somebody's dream. Do you dismiss it? Do you think, oh, you saw two people in a car. Well, that's because you were in a car earlier. Do we really think it's that simplistic? Your linear mind wants to minimize it. It wants to minimize it. I would say the same dream and say, oh, in a different reality, you're in a car. Why are you in that car? What are you doing in that car? Who's with you in that car? Are you the same age in that car? What's your feelings about that car? What color is the car? Now, I'm not saying every dream you have to do this with. But there are some that affect you. Some that get your attention, some that repeat. Those are the ones I'm talking about. If you have an emotion and when you wake up, you need to look at it. And I say need, you really don't need to do anything. But for the purpose of this talk, I have to use words, and that's the word I'm going to use. You do whatever you want. You're being asked to review it. You're being asked to be prepared for something. And what I would find when I would dream about, everyone has that dream where they're late for a test and didn't study. Or they are showing up to an exam and they didn't take the class all year. I mean, it's a very simplistic dream that everybody has at one point, I think. And I noticed I had that dream when I was procrastinating my next phase of what I had to do. Leaving things behind, becoming my brightest self, embracing a higher state of consciousness. That's when I had those dreams. You're behind. You were supposed to be here 2 years ago. And why are you procrastinating these old realities? Because you have more you have to do. You're late. Now, technically, you can't ever be late because you're always going to show up in your human reality. You're always going to be on time. You just kind of run in a circle in those realities. You don't really get anywhere. You're on a hamster wheel in those realities. You don't go anywhere in the human realities. They're continually, it's like watching the same movie 100 times. That's what you start doing after a while. And you start noticing after a while you watch the same movie. So the dream world is a place where you see a different movie. It's a different theater you can go to. But I would always have those dreams. And it was always like it was a math test. It was always a math test I wasn't ready for. And a lot of our higher consciousness knowledge comes in geometrics and math codes and numbers. They start to play a really important part. Quantum physics, all that stuff starts to come in a different way. That kind of galactic knowledge. But you have to be ready for it. Well, I was being told by myself, you're behind. You're not ready for this stuff. You have stuff you have to do. And you're not doing it. You're not prepared for what's coming next. So when I ever hear anyone talk about that dream, whether I just overhear it or on the radio I hear someone say they had that dream, I kind of feel like that's probably where they're at in their journey. They're getting to a point where you're now not doing what you're supposed to be doing next, which you really can't ever do that. But you can either do it willingly or you can be pushed. We don't want to push you, but if we have to push you, we will. But we're giving you a chance to study for this. We're telling you you're behind and you need to pay attention. So don't dismiss anything. You haven't really earned the right to dismiss it. I kept dream journals for years. I mean, every dream, I would dissect every piece of it. I'd look at who was in it. I write down ages. I write down time markers. Am I wearing a coat? Is this winter time? You know, what's my hair look like? Did it look like me? Did it look like somebody else? Where am I? I would try to find different markers in the dream. And what I was wearing was always a kind of a marker in the beginning for me to see what season this could take place in. I'm teeing up a certain reality until I got to a point. And this was after years. This was not like, oh, now I'm there. I got to a point after doing that I don't have to do it anymore. I can kind of segregate my dreams in a sort of certain categories. I'll have some that I don't have any emotion around. They're really kind of distorted. I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm just clearing timelines from other places, other dimensions that are affecting me here or could affect me later, and I don't need them. So you clear them. So every night before I go to bed, I say, just clear everything out. Clear all the timelines out. Everything that happened today, clear it. Clear it, clear it, clear it. You can always try this before you go to bed. Just say clear everything, clear the whole realities out, clear all my timelines out, and watch what happens. Sometimes I'll say clear all my karmic timelines out. Just, I want everything gone. I don't need to take it into tomorrow. I want everything cleared. So I know some's that. I might be a little curious about it. It's a little warped, whatever was going on, but I don't really have an emotion about it. I don't really feel like I feel like it's just not anything I got to pay attention to. Then I'll have dreams where I'm talking to a different character. We're exchanging information. And normally that character is a different aspect of me I'm trying to integrate in. And that's usually the beginning of the integration. I always, for me, meet the character in a dream. And then it's like, okay, now we're going to go do this. And that's kind of the beginning of that phase of that aspect for me. It's kind of like the opening of the portal. You're just beginning. Then I got to work through all the distortions of that aspect, but that's kind of the teeing up for me of that aspect coming in. So I'm like, okay, that's important. I want to pay attention to that. What aspect is that? That's kind of fun. I'll have ones where I see different people leaving my life, and it can be represented through death in the dream. It could be in some reality they're dying, they're just leaving, and I know, okay, that's got to go, or that's going to shift. That person's going to shift out, and I got to be ready for that. So I'm preparing myself. And normally my marker for that is that the person on the other side of that, like the person I know is going to leave, will have a dream where I'm leaving. But they will just say it casually, like, oh, I had a dream and you were moving away. And I'm like, yeah, there it is. I don't say anything. No one asks my opinion, so I don't say anything, but I know that's my marker where, yeah, they're having this. They're preparing too. It's not just me. They're getting the same message that this has got to end. We can't carry this on. Could it shift in frequency? Yes, it's possible. But there's a reason I'm preparing for that. You see someone and you know it plays out more like a death scene. I know, okay, well, looks that person could be dying. Might not be right away. When I say the kind of preparation dreams, it doesn't always mean someone's going to die tomorrow. People will completely freak out when they see someone die in their dream. They're like, oh my God, it's tomorrow. It could be just the aspect of them they represent for you. It could be they are going to leave and death is how they're going to go. But that could be 10 years from now. Depends on how long it's going to take you to process that. These are just the previews. Yes, it's happening in 1,000 different realities, 1,000,000 different realities you're in. Yes, it's all happening somewhere. That's true no matter what you see. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. You're just getting a preview. Because this could be coming at some point. You need to start detaching from the reality. It's time to start moving on. I'll have the dreams where I see things happening that haven't happened yet. You know, I might be giving a talk at a certain space. I might be doing an interview with some famous person. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's coming. And I'm just kind of teeing up another reality. It could take me 2 years. Usually it's a minimum of 2 years when I see it in the dream state to anchor it in this reality because I'm dreaming a different frequency. If I was in that frequency with my body, that reality would be happening here. The fact I'm seeing it when I'm sleeping, it means I'm not in that frequency yet for that reality to come forth. Because if it was here already, I'd be in the frequency. I know I'm just teeing up a reality. I have to work through a lot of programming to get there. I'm not there yet. But when I see it, I know it's coming. And then I just say, okay, so I wake up the next day and go, okay, that's cool. Bring me that reality. What do I got to do to get there? And then I just listen to what I got to do. Sometimes it's weird stuff. Take a long walk. Okay. It could be 2 years of taking a long walk. It could be 2 years of doing work like I do work now. It could be go to this bar on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Okay. Might have nothing to do with that person, but for some reason I got to be there. Because I got to work through something else before that person, that reality comes in. That opportunity comes in. I can segregate things out because I have earned my right to do that. So I don't write anything down anymore. Because when it comes back in this reality, I can hit the frequency and remember the dream because that's now the frequency I'm in. So the dream will come back. we probably all had that to a certain extent, to where something happens, then we maybe remembered we dreamed it, because that's the frequency of that dream. You hit that frequency. That's why it comes back in. That's why all of a sudden you remember it. Some of you didn't remember for anything, the most random thing, and it comes in, you're like, oh, that's weird. I just dreamed that. I forgot I dreamed it, but I did. Because you hit the frequency. You tune into the frequency, you hit the dream. I'm sorry, the cat. I'm not really sure what he's doing. Sorry. I'm almost a little curious though to see what he's looking at, but okay. Well, let's see if there's any screaming. You kind of have to earn that right to do that. Because if you don't pay attention to it in the beginning, you're kind of also telling your universe you're going to close down that door. You don't want to see it. You don't want to tap into that space of creation. You don't want to tap into that space of precognizance, in a sense. You don't want to tap into that space of knowledge. You don't want to be able to clear emotions in that space. You'd rather do it the harder way and clear it in this space. You don't want to do a lot of your pre-work in that space, but you want to have to do everything when you're awake, which makes it a lot tougher. If you have a big project to do, you can say, let me work on that while I'm sleeping. And then the next day, it goes very quickly because you worked on it when you were sleeping. It was easy. It wasn't hard. But you have to get yourself to that space. That is not something you can just do without paying some type of attention to your dream. You have to give it some type of respect. And if you're not respecting it, you don't get more. You don't deserve more. Our universe is very specific on giving us what we deserve. We have to show we're interested in the knowledge. We have to show we want to tap into that space. If not, we're not going to get everything we want out of it, in a sense, everything that's possible. And it's a vast world where so many things are possible. But if we don't respect it, we don't say, yeah, I'm open. When you have a dream, you see all that, and then you immediately start dismissing it, and people around you start dismissing it. Because people also speak our fears back to us. In a way, they're testing that person to say, hey, are you going to dismiss it? Because we're going to try to get you to dismiss it. That's the role we're going to play in this scene in this movie. We're going to try to get you to dismiss your dream. Are you going to do that? Or are you going to maybe look into that dream? What was it about that dream? You can always play the car radio song. I played the car radio song a lot in the beginning. I still kind of do it. Like, okay, what is this dream trying to show me? What is this dream trying to tell me? The next song on the radio is going to clarify this for me. You'll be shocked what happens when you start utilizing the outside world sometimes. If you feel like the inside connection's a little murky, you can then go outside and look around. It's no different than the dream space. It's exactly the same. It's just we don't feel it's the same because it's not here physically, so we feel like it's so far off. But the dream, especially when this person was describing the dream, I mean, I was like, that's a pretty heavy dream. There's something to that you probably want to do a little more research on. And if you don't, I would imagine something's going to come around in your waking state and kind of bite you in the bum on that one, because it's trying to show you something. Can everything be avoided? Depends on what it is. Now that gets into that kind of, that gray area of, do we tell other people when we dream about them? I get that question quite a bit. Like, I dreamed about this person, I dreamed this happened, and then I called them and told them, and they were not open to it. Well, sometimes we get that stuff to see if we can be trusted with getting that information. Are we going to have to go into our ego and now I want to tell you all about this vivid dream I had about your future, when it's really not my business? I might have got it for a reason because I can tap into it. That's another dream I'll have where I'm talking to different people that I know, but I haven't talked to them in a long time, but they're telling me what's going on in their life when I'm sleeping. I don't have to see them in the physical reality. They already told me. No, I don't call them the next day and go, oh, you were in my dream and you told me this was going on. How are you doing? Because they didn't ask. And if no one asks you, look at why you want to tell people. look at why you feel the need to tell somebody, oh, this happened. Oh, look, this is really important. I want to tell you all about this dream I had about you and what's going to happen in your future. Well, I'm not shocked it wasn't received well because nobody asked your opinion. How many times have I said, you can say the most profound shit ever to somebody, but if they didn't ask for it, they're not going to receive it. They're not going to listen because they didn't ask. They're not even open to getting it. We can get great information from other characters in our movie. We can get really tremendous information from all of our side characters. All the exposition you see in movies, we get the same thing all the time. We get the same exposition. Are you listening or not? Do you dismiss it? But if they're not open to receiving it, they're not going to hear it anyway. It doesn't matter. Then it's just, we're playing in our ego because we want to tell it. Hey, I have this special gift and I'm connected, so I want to tell you all about what's going to happen in your future. If that person needs to know it, trust me, they will see it themselves. Now, if they ask you, that's a little different. It shifts the energy. They've asked your opinion on something, or ask, hey, do you ever dream about... Sorry, the cat's back again. Well, nobody's bloody, so I assume he's fine. That's weird. They always provide so many interruptions to these and videos I do. It's like they completely do not like to be out of the scene. They want to be in on everything. You swear, and like I said before, I think you swear I have a cattery in here as many times as they interrupt. Okay, so why do you feel the need? And that's really any opinion. I'm kind of taking it to the dream space because that's where we feel a little more plugged in, a little more, it's not that you're not supposed to feel special. We are supposed to feel special when we start being able to see more. We can feel into our different gifts we have of telepathy, of mind reading, of seeing the future, knowing what realities are coming, knowing who's important in that reality, knowing what we have to do to get it. That's empowering. How you can shift a whole reality just by shifting your perception of it. You can close a reality down and completely move on to something else. When you start seeing how you can shapeshift your realities, that's a very powerful place to be. And people look at you as you are more powerful than them. And there's a reason for that. Because the human doesn't respect anything unless they think there's a hierarchy there. So that's one reason why it happens. But eventually that has to drop. You're really not more powerful. You're just showing them really what they could be, if that's what they want to be. If they want to embrace those aspects of them. If they're ready to do that. It's a process for them too. When it's time for them to do that, they'll do that. You might just be put in their reality to show them that. You're the higher aspect of them in that reality. You're showing them how you should act, in a sense. It's almost like a mother looking at children. In that reality, you're going to play the mother role. You're going to show them how to act. That doesn't mean you go tell them everything they're doing is wrong. Everything they're doing is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. In the timeline they're in. It's not our place to interfere with someone else's timeline. It's like, you really can't interfere. It's not our place to interfere. Everyone has a timeline of when they're supposed to awaken, expand their consciousness, leave the human life behind. Everyone has that. My higher aspects are not better than your higher aspects. I don't know more than they do. I know more of what I'm doing because I'm doing it. What you're doing, I might see how certain things are going to play out, but it's not my place to get involved in it. Unless my opinion's asked, and then you still have to preference that. I might feel one way. It doesn't mean anyone's going to take the opinion, but if you ask for it, then you give it. Now, I say telling people about dreams you have can be rocky place. Just look at the energy you're coming from when you do it. Look at the energy of why you want to do it. That's going to tell you what aspect you're operating from. And it's also, we get tested with a lot of that information to see what we're going to do. Are you going to go run and tell this person? Are you going to hold back and just let it play out for them? I mean, you know how it's going to play out for them anyway. Do you want to get involved? Is that yours to get involved in? The human loves to get involved in shit that's not their business. It loves the drama, loves to point out all the garbage in somebody's yard, and not focus on itself. It's distract, distract, distract. You see it all over everywhere. Everyone's involved in what everybody else is doing. So caught up in everybody else, they don't know what they're doing or what they're trying to do. They just have no idea. They're caught up in everybody else's stuff. Like, how much stuff were you caught up in that's not yours? When you give an opinion and nobody asked. Now, I will say, I've talked a little bit about shared dreaming on this channel or on the stream, where you can share dreams with people. And I kind of don't mind myself when people have a dream about tell me about it. Because I know in a way it's sort of information for me, so I know it feels like I'm kind of flip-flopping on that. But I kind of think it's interesting for me to see what I'm doing in their dream. How do you see me in that dream? Was I happy in that dream? What did I say? What was I doing? Did I seem happy? Because when the person said I was moving, my first question I asked was, "Oh, was I happy?" She's like, "Yeah, you were happy." And I'm like, "Okay, that's all I need to know." However that reality plays out, it's going to play out the right way. I might interpret it a different way because I'm coming from a different level of consciousness, a different space than they are. But I kind of like to see what I'm doing in different people's dreams. Some nights I'll dream about one person and they'll dream about me. And I have one friend, we'll always kind of talk about what each one was doing in the other person's dream. And it's just, and sometimes they'll have similarities, like it'll be sort of similar scenes in each dream. Different numbers, different this, different that. They'll have a date. I remember one time I had a dream, and one of my friends had a dream, and I was watching a movie in the dream, and it was a date in her dream, and the day the movie was released was the date in her dream. So it can be kind of interesting and fun to play with that with people. But just don't get into your ego about what you see and why you see it. You're going to see a lot. And the more you open up and show you can be trusted with a lot, you're going to see a lot. And it's up to you to decide, how do I feel about that? Do I feel like I need to share that? Maybe it's a point to use it. Sometimes I'll use certain things for an explanation, but not really get into anyone really involved in the dream, because it doesn't really so much matter. But just look at where you're coming from. How many times have you dreamed something that felt so just critically important, and you kind of felt the need to tell somebody, but then maybe you forget about it? People wonder, why can't I remember my dream? It's because it's a different frequency than where you're normally operating from. That's why you forget about it. Once you hit that frequency, the dream will come right back to you. You can't remember it because your frequency is not that when you're awake. That's why. If you hit it when you're awake, you'll remember it. But you really don't have to remember it. You remember if it's important. But I think in the beginning, keeping a dream diary, it just shows you see an importance in what you're seeing. It just shows a level of respect to what you have access to. In that, it shows you have a level of respect for what you're seeing. And that's what's important. Just showing that level of respect for what you can see. So I think that kind of covers that topic. That was just one that I hear so much, where everyone, they try to take the dream and use the human mind to explain it. And the human mind can't even comprehend it. You know, the human brain is not meant to tackle multidimensionality. It can't even comprehend all that's going on. You know, it's not so simple as, oh, you have a dog and you dreamed about a dog. It's just not. Now, when you're there are parts, the typical person operating from the ego level of consciousness, third dimensional level of consciousness, whatever people call it, and people call it everything, your ego, your human programming, you can see very little. And there are parts when you are kind of just clearing off your daily stuff, there is a part of that. But you still have access to a lot. You just don't ask. That's always one of the first things I'll say when someone starts asking about how do I see more. You just ask to see more. You say, I want to see more. I want to see what's coming. Tell me what I need to know. I'll say that stuff every night before I go to bed. I need to know what's coming next. What do I need to be ready for? What am I not doing? You know, what's going on? It's a massive workspace. Way more productive than when we're awake. More stuff happens in my dream state than when I'm awake. My waking state's very peaceful. Not much happens. So I do a lot of work when I'm sleeping. Not much has to happen. If I got to do a video, normally, especially in the very beginning for me, I'd get the whole thing when I was sleeping. I just wake up and write it down. Sit down, do the video. Now I don't so much have to do that because I can hit the frequency. I can hit the frequencies during the day. I don't need to get it when I'm sleeping. In a way that's true and in a way that's not true because I am still prepping when I'm sleeping. But some of that stuff now I notice I can do faster. I can process faster that information because you're just getting so much all the time. People will call it light codes. People will call it's just opening up to the universal field of consciousness. Source consciousness, you're just opening up to that. That's why a lot of people say it's easier for them to write than to do a video. Well, in video, you got to process quicker. You can always tell the people that splice their videos because they're not probably processing as fast. But the human aspect's not meant, your body's not meant to process that fast unless you start expanding out, and living from a different space of consciousness with your body. Then you process faster. So my videos got a lot better through the years because I could process quicker. I used to write everything down I wanted to say. Part of that was nerves, and part of that was I couldn't process as fast. Where then now I can. Like now I can do a video. I usually take one take of it unless I have something happen with the video or, because I film on my phone. If a phone call or something interrupts it or something, I'll go back and just refilm from the beginning. I've only sliced like twice, I think. And that was just because my phone kept cutting off at 5 minutes and I had to figure out what was going on with my phone. And I filmed one video like 8 times and it kept cutting off. And I just got pissed. And I just kind of cut the ending in because I was like, I'm not doing this one again. I'm tired of doing this one. But I normally don't. But part of that's also you have to just kind of put it out there and not care because you kind of got to get over yourself because it doesn't matter. You have to look it up. If it helps one person, great. Who really cares? I mean, the human will put something out and the human aspect just wants to look at it. What's it doing? Is anybody watching it? Did anybody say anything? What's going on with it? But when you're in a different aspect, you don't care. You're just kind of building momentum for the reality. When I talked earlier about bringing the other ones in from what you see when you're sleeping, you have to build a momentum for that. And that can take years of putting out work. In the higher realms, it's a lot harder in a sense for the human. It's just more organic. Like I don't advertise anything. You never see me on there asking for anyone to do anything. And neither will you see it in any of my other work. All the work I put out like this is just for free. It's to help people. That's it. It doesn't matter. Because I'm not marketing anything. When you're operating a business, some people, or just anything from those states, you realize it has to be organic. This type of information, if you're not ready to hear it, it doesn't matter how much marketing I do. And the minute I start marketing it and trying to push it on someone who's not ready, it's going to lead to just a big mess. Because you're trying to pull people in, and you don't have to do that. People will find you when they're ready to find you. And just like what I said earlier, the people will be open to it because they're found it on their own. They found it when in their universe they were ready to find it. It's their time now. They've hit that reality. Now it's my time. Now I have to look at this because it's my time to look at it. It's time for me to look at this now. This is what I'm supposed to do. So you can't really push anything. And you see a lot of, I'll work with some people that they put together certain businesses and they feel that human need to promote it. And it can take a while to work through that because they have this theory that it's not going to work if I don't market it. But in a way, you are marketing it. You just put out a lot of work. Eventually, people will find you. It'll be pretty hard not to find you. But you don't really, when you're marketing it, you're going to attract probably the people that you're not going to enjoy working with, because they're not really in a space to get what you're putting out. Now, does it take longer? Yes, it takes a lot longer. You don't market anything, it takes longer. But it's supposed to take longer in a sense, because when look how long it took you to build a human life. I mean, let's say you're in your 30s and you went to high school, maybe you went to college, then you worked for 15 years and you became whatever, a manager, vice president, whatever it is you became. Well, that was a long human life to get there. Now we're going to tear all that human life down. We're going to build it from a different level of consciousness in higher aspects. Soul-aligned work, soul-aligned realities, and I expect that to happen in 5 months. But the other one took me 25 years. No. It might take 4 or 5, but the other one took you 25. So you have to have, there is a level of patience you have to have with it. Knowing that it's not going to take as long, but it's also not overnight either. You're recoding your body, you're restructuring your DNA, you're restructuring your world. You decide how long that takes. Now, the recoding of your DNA takes time, no matter how much you put into it, because that's a big process for the body to do, to anchor in those realities here, to achieve those frequencies here where those realities can come in. It takes time, in a sense. But you enjoy what you're doing, and you understand that it doesn't really matter. It's not linear. It doesn't really matter where the money comes from. I don't care if the money comes from this or the money comes from there. You know, if I get a donation from my channel, I book a session, I do a corporate talk. I don't care. I just get a check in the mail for something. I don't care where it comes from. It's all from my universe giving it to me. The human gets wrapped up in I want it, and I used to be this way too. So I am not judging anyone who does it. I did it. I want it this way. I want my money to come in this way. I want my friends to be like this. I want this relationship to happen like this. We put limits on it. We want it this way. Well, it might not be that way. I think that was the topic of one of these streams. We don't get it our way. We don't get it the human way. It's not going to come how you think. The people that are going to help you are not going to be the people you ever thought. In fact, I would say in your human realities, these people played a very minor role in your life. They were not big characters. They were not the characters you thought were going to star in your movie for the rest of your life. These were side characters. Characters you met once and maybe didn't even remember. Didn't make a massive impression the first time you met them, and you didn't make one on them either. Because in those timelines, that's the role they had. But in these other timelines, these more expanded timelines, these higher consciousness timelines, these people play a bigger role. They become different people to you because you're different. Everything starts to shift. You don't really care about male, female. You don't even see that really anymore. Color, race, gender, none of it really matters. It's just the energy of the person. I mean, I never really remember the names of people. I remember the energy of somebody when I meet them. I don't very rarely remember anybody's name. As soon as they say it, it's gone. I don't remember it. But I remember the energy of the person. I remember, I kind of can log if it's important. In a way, it's all important, but I can log if it's, because you get to that space where you can. You know, you can just say, okay, that's going to come back in later. Maybe 3 years from now, but it's going to come back in later. It's not going to be exactly how you think, but we want to judge how it comes. Because the human wants to put a limit on it. Like, what are you willing to do to get the reality? You could have your most amazing reality ever, but it's like, oh yeah, but you got to go get coffee for 2 years in this and do this for this person to get that reality, because that's how they need you to contribute to it. But you get all this happiness and joy in doing that, but you have to get coffee. Yeah, you might have to sweep floors too. What do you think about that? I've seen a lot of people say, no, I won't do that. I don't care how happy I'm gonna be. I'm not getting coffee. Are you serious? I'm so much better than that. Are you really? Okay. Anytime anyone says that to me, I'm like, okay, wait and see. Wait and see what you'll be willing to do. Because when all your human stuff gets taken away, you'll be surprised what you'll do. I'd be happy doing it. Because I was the same way. We can sit there and say, oh, look at that. It just shows you where you used to be too. Like I used to be that way. Like I'm not doing that. Now I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get coffee. I don't care. If it's a reality I'm enjoying and one that's building on something for humanity, I don't care what I'm doing. I'll get the shit out of some coffee. I might be terrible at it, but I'm gonna give it a shot. People might say, Miss Annette, you didn't do the order right. Whatever. I'll get it right next time. I would try. I would do my best at it. Maybe I wouldn't be good at it, but it wouldn't really matter because it's the energy you bring to whatever you do. A lot of people will say, I want a soul-aligned job. Well, in the beginning, you might not be in a space to shift jobs. It might not be your time to yet. Everything you learn in your human realities come back later when you're in your soul-aligned realities. You need all those skills. It's not a complete waste of time. Of course it's not. You're working off karmic debt. You're clearing out your ledger. You're gaining skills you're going to need later. You're going to need all those skills. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Knowing at one point you're going to shift into something else, it's the energy you bring to what you're doing. That matters. I mean, we always think that people who have these great jobs are so happy. Very rarely they are. You take away, what is the saying? Fame is a very fickle lover. And it is. The minute all that goes away, what do you have to identify yourself with? People identify themselves with what they do for work, what they drive, who they're in a relationship with. That's the human. We define all of ourselves by that stuff. All that outside stuff makes us who we are. Well, it really doesn't. And when you start shifting over, most of that stuff has to go because you can't carry that. That's not who you were. Those people, those things they're not the essence of you. They're not. They've got really nothing to do with you, and you find you don't really care about any of them. It just doesn't matter. I look back on all the money I wasted when I was living in those timelines. I was living from that human programming. All that time wasted, all that money wasted. And I just have to chuckle. And when I see people do it, you know, I'm like, well, I did the same thing. They'll learn just like I did, the hard way. Someone asks my opinion, I'm always happy to give it, and I'll do a lot of videos on that. Like, if this helps anybody else, please listen, because it's not going to end the way you want it to. You'll be shown you don't need any of that stuff. You don't need any of those people. If you have an identity around everything, I can't live without that, you wait and see what happens. Your universe will show you you can live without it. And we expect you to live without it, because it doesn't really matter if you have it or not. Then you can kind of have it. There's a place where we have to do stuff at some points, but then we can then decide, oh yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. But you kind of have to do everything in the beginning because you're kind of proving that you're willing to. You're kind of earning your stripes, just like what we said earlier about the dream world. You're earning your stripes to then discount some stuff later. And not really discount it, but no, I don't need to be concerned about that. But you have to get there first. You have to earn it all first. So I think on that note, unless I have any questions, I'm going to go and check on the cat because I still hear a little squawking in the background. So if I don't have any more questions, I'm going to exit. And I want people to really think about their dreams. Think about the ones you dismiss. Think about the ones you don't think are important. Really feel inside to see if you've earned the right to dismiss anything. Have you earned the right to say, yeah, I don't need to worry about that stuff? What have you earned the right to do? What have you not earned the right to do? On a soul level, not on a human level. Those are two different spaces of what we're earning, what we deserve. There's a lot of entitlement to the human aspect. Human aspect thinks it deserves everything. What have you earned the right for? in the higher realities, in the higher consciousness spaces? What have you earned the right to do? What have you earned the right to say, yeah, I don't need to worry about that so much. That dream doesn't matter. What are the ones that you just assume you don't have to do that? Look at what aspect of you is talking. Is that my soul aspect? Just to keep it clear, we have a zillion different higher aspects, but just in clarity in the moment, is that my human or is that my soul aspect? Which one's talking to me right now? But I don't have to worry about that. Which one's trying to get my attention? So, little homework. Bye, everybody.